Hey y'all, it's me again, Joey.
Well, ready to let them loose?
Yep, that's it. Let's see if they make us run.
Oh,
Probably so.
yeah, that one tried to get after him, but other than that, what can you expect? I mean, can you blame them? Oh yeah, they're getting after us now. Go, Joey, go!
Hey man!
Good night, buddy. I'm gonna get in the truck. You gotta go back and get your camera.
But also, just get as many as you can off the one that the food gets out.
We gotta move around.
Do that side again. Y'all ready? Let's get started. Hello, everybody. Over in the comments. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. How are you doing, Mr. JW?
Doing my thing.
Yeah, doing your
See,
thing.
they're behind me what I've been doing. I had to go buy more equipment. I had to go to my bee supplier. I bought 20 deeps and 40 mediums and some excluders and another 100 medium frames. I run out of equipment again. So
Yeah. I tell you, it wouldn't hurt if I went and bought a few more boxes and some frames. I was busy today putting extra boxes on there, a lot of stuff.
yeah, that's what I've been doing. And
Got a little hot today, a little tired.
Yeah.
Let's see who all we got in here. Jack and Danae, Tar Heel Beekeeper, Bundy, James Noel, Mike Tangway, Stephen Rogers, Darren. If I miss anybody, let me know. Russell,
yeah.
Rodney.
Tim and Hannah just popped up.
Did they?
Carl, 2B Brat.
Carl,
Carl.
2B Brats. Yeah, I see Gunline Bees there now.
How y'all doing?
Who'd I miss? Icy Mountain Honey.
Yeah.
Jimmy Lindsay. He needs to come on in the chat one day, talk a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Sherrill, Flip Honeystone Homestead, Collector Rick. Who have I missed? Man, this list is growing. It went from like 17 to 44 all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
There's Lee in here.
There's Lee.
Keith Spillman.
Lindsay.
I think I got everybody. If I missed you, raise your hand.
Peter Morris. Kodiak Farm Bees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went from like 17 to 46 all of a sudden.
There's Clay Bunner.
Hey, Clay.
Can't get enough of you, Joey. I'm just going to have to play some football again, I guess.
Yeah. I hadn't been in the bee yard a whole lot today. I kind of put a thing up there. What are you doing in your bee yard? Working, of course. But I spent one day bush hogging the fields. That wore me out, so I rested a little while. Spent another day mowing the yards, and me and the wife decided to trim some of the trees and bushes down a little bit. I was actually going to go in the bee yard after that. And when we got through, I said, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't doing nothing. So today, I wanted to go in the bee yard and just check, see if I could pull any honey or what they needed. And ended up having to take the little dog to the veterinarian this morning. We got back, I told her, I said, I'm going to start loading my truck up and I'm going to either pull honey and or add boxes till I run out. And in the main yard here. And we've added boxes to just about everything out there today. Some didn't have but 2 deeps on them. They finally got where they needed a 3rd box. So they got a box, they got a queen excluder.
Yep. That's what I've been doing. I got more queen excluders, boxes, deeps, mediums, frames.
And we were almost done. We did the whole back row and actually didn't pull but 8 frames. No, so 9 frames, mediums, pretty full out of all that. But that box needed another box on it. That Hive did. It had 1 medium, so we pulled that box off and put. There's Todd in there, Peter, Morris. But anyway, what was that? We pulled that box off and gave her 2 more mediums. Said, have at it, girl. Anyway, we did the whole back row and had like 6 on the front I wanted to look at. And I said, you go rest. I'll go through them. If I need you, I'll holler. Well, on the last one, on the back row, it was a double deep with a queen excluder and a medium. And it was one of those that I had to requeen. It was slow requeen. I had 2 or 3 this year that they didn't requeen like they supposed to. They, for whatever reason, the cell emerged and queen never made it back or something. But I requeened it again and then put that medium on there in case they needed it a few weeks ago. And I picked that medium up. It wasn't real heavy. I said, they ain't even come up in here much. I could tell there was a little bit in there, so I set it on the lid and went through, and I saw all kind of cap brood everywhere. I said, well, she's doing good. She needs this box. So I went to put the box back on. I said, let's see what they got in here. First thing I pulled out of the middle, they were 4 frames of brood in that medium box. And I got to looking through that. This is above the excluder now.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to digging around there, and I said, there she is. Get the pen. I grabbed her, and she went and got the pen, and we marked her blue. I know she had to be a virgin because the hive was queenless to start with, when I put the last sale in there. I marked her, moved that excluder, and threw her down in there. She said, how you know you didn't have 2 queens? I said, I didn't. But I ain't going to worry about it either. I said, I'm going to let them sort it out. I'm not trying to go through here and see if I got 2 queens in this box again.
Yeah, this has been quite a year on the queens for me.
Yeah. I don't know if they're getting up in this excluder because I already had one I talked about last week.
Yep.
Where her brood nest isolated right around that queen excluder. You could see the circle growing out away from it.
Sure.
And
I'd say, I thought in that case you probably had a bent frame in the middle of
that. There's probably something in it. But I shook everything down and put that excluder back on there, and I said, come back in a couple of weeks, and if they still got brood in there, she's laying in there again, I'm gonna put a different excluder on it or just let her go.
Yeah.
So, and that was good honey frames too. I had put 3 or 4 deep drawn honeycomb frames and then plastic, and they had already laid brood in that one last week I'm talking about, and drew more out and laid brood in it. said, "You sorry devils. I still got brood frames in the deep freeze for y'all, and y'all laying in my honeycomb. What's the matter with y'all?"
Uh,
Then we got another one popped in.
just, I had some a little bit of a brood up above some of my excluders. That's when I put the excluders on them. I just let them hatch out, and hopefully they won't
Yeah.
clear out, and I can go ahead and get it full. I've got several. I shot. Probably should be extracting some. I probably got 15 to 20 medium supers, but I'm not going to extract. I just keep adding mediums, but I'm out, so I've got to get some more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just a little along. I pulled about 185 pounds out so far, making room. And I have got one of those that I did a video on last Wednesday, I think, or this past Wednesday. Or was that last week? I can't even remember now. But one of those, I pulled honey out in the video and then came back and put empty frames back in it and pulled the rest out. Put them back in there. They're all full again. They're not capped. I looked at them today. She's got a deep and a medium above the queen excluder, but they were putting honey in the medium and had the deep one full again already. But I figured I better get in there and check, because when we was going to the vet today, Mike Berry called me. He said, "You ready?" I said, "Am I ready?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "The tallow's rolling, buddy." I said, "Okay." Usually I got anywhere from about a week, 5 to 7 days from when Mike starts rolling in a certain flow.
Yeah.
I got a couple of days to get ready. And so I took care of this yard today. What are we talking about in here? I ain't even paying these guys no attention. Sorry about that. I've been fighting a chest cold, man. It's been getting me.
Yeah. I've got big time allergies. I've been sneezing and coughing. I did. I spent all afternoon bush hogging around my fields and waterways and some of my fields for my tenant farmer, and that tears me up. And then I messed around and I bent my takeoff shaft for my big batwing mower, and that'll probably cost me $600-800 to get fixed.
Ooh.
So
Did it bend both parts?
no, I think it's just the tube part of it, but it's
Yeah.
big. It's a 1000 series, with all
Yeah.
the deal, and it'll be expensive. I know if I go back to John Deere, probably be 1,200-1,500, but I think I can get one made local machine shop, hopefully for 600-800.
Probably.
I didn't bend it bad. It's usable, but straight. But if I run it at any extent that way, it'll beat the bearings all out of my power takeoff
Yep.
housing. So
See, Todd's asking about my spiny roller, I call it. It I guess it does leave some particles. Actually, all it does is poke holes in it, but it does kind of break that capping up a little bit. Most of it stays on the comb, and some of it comes out in the extractor. So it gets caught in the strainer in the extractor. But it does a good job when you got that shallow capped frames. Let's see what else I missed here.
Keith Spellman on here. You haven't said hello to Keith yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I said hello to him.
Oh,
He might
okay.
not heard me. Hey again,
I
Keith.
just did hear you.
I'm gonna have to get me a cough drop. I'm gonna start this coughing spell again. I need to go ahead and put the link in here, don't I?
Hey, Brian, Jan. Yeah. Yeah, we need help. We need help. It was I didn't have anything to do with it.
I'm gonna grab me a cough drop.
What my problem is, Todd, in response to your, it's not paying attention. It's just being old and stupid, doing dumb things. That's what happens when you get old and senile.
That's what I told somebody the other day. I said, when you get old and stupid, that's what happens.
Yep.
I said, the bad thing is I've been stupid a lot longer than I was old.
Yeah, I'd probably plead guilty to that also.
Yep.
No, I've been torching boxes and dipping boxes and putting boxes together. I buy all my Hive boxes just unassembled.
Unassembled?
Yes, sir. And I screw everything, then I torch them, and then I dip them. And right now I've got 60 to put together. Start on tomorrow. So I'm gonna try to get caught up on boxes. I'd rather have too many and not need them, than to need them and not have enough. So
Yep.
I drove 140 miles today in about 3 hours over and back to 70 miles each way to my new bee supplier and picked up boxes and frames, excluders. Hopefully I'm done for 25, but I think I've said that 3 times already. I keep adding more stuff.
I think I might try to sell me a couple boxes of bees here to see if somebody wants them.
I ought to, but I don't have enough sense to do it, I guess.
Tom looks like he's out at work.
I work.
I'm working.
Huh.
Working this weekend, guys.
Yeah. Everybody believe that's standing on your head. With the Dixie. Are you headed home?
Say again.
You headed home?
I'm not headed home. Party just started.
Oh, headed these, huh?
I have to stay down here until Tuesday night because we have a presentation to get down here at the bee club down here, actually.
Why is it that it's always in the area of the lake that you get all these presentations and invite to
Well,
present?
just so happened it worked out that way, I guess. Not sure what to say.
You just telling that to your tax man so you can write that trip off, what you're trying to do. I know how you're operating. How's your better half over there? She's awful quiet. Is she not? Is she feeling a little better?
Oh, she's not here with me. She's back at the house, actually. We had to run out and grab something for my sister for her birthday. And so anyway, it's just me with my bro-in-law right here. How you guys doing?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So we had to run out and go grab a couple things. And she hasn't gone out on the boat or hung out or played or anything like that. She just kind of just hanging back and just relaxing. I had to work for a little bit this morning on the presentation stuff, but other than that.
Those people still think you know something, huh? They're still inviting you.
Yeah, through the chat. Here, let me try to turn.
He acts like he didn't hear you, there,
Yeah.
Mr.
Hold on.
W.
That turned him
Speak up.
upside. That turned him upside down. Joey, you see that comment
Yeah.
I made?
You have to speak up a little bit. I can't hear you, fella.
You don't want to hear me what I said anyway.
Probably not. I probably don't care. Yeah, what stinks is whenever I'm on my phone, so I can't read any of the chat and for whatever reason, I could hear you guys fine when I was listening in for a few minutes, but as soon as I log into this, I can't. The volume's not as high.
Ron Zavada wants to know what your topic is for your presentation.
Oh, it's well, specifically queens and viable and what they offer to the colony. So I can share I'm not back at my laptop, but I can share my presentation and see if anybody has any thoughts on things that I've missed or needed to add. But I'm not in front of my laptop right now. So I thought that'd be an interesting one. What do you think, Brian?
Nice. He says nice.
Okay.
Tom Lee said he's
I
going to
feel-
be in your location here next weekend.
It was. Can you guys hear me?
You froze up, buddy.
You guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm in a holler.
Yeah, it's probably going to drop out on me, so I'm not sure if I can log back on for a few minutes whenever I get back to the house. It'll be about 10 minutes. So I may try to log back on here in about 10 minutes because it may keep breaking up where I'm headed downhill toward the lake. So
Yeah.
I'll log out, try to log back in on my laptop so I can see everybody and read comments. I'm not sure if Melissa's going to feel up to coming on. So
That's fine.
Yeah, she said she was a little bit under the weather.
yeah, she's still not feeling great today. Probably won't be doing well until she goes back to the doctor's office this next week and finishes up what they started, basically. So anyway, she'll be feeling better then, be back on her feet. Well, so give me about 10 minutes. I'll log back on, fellas.
Okay.
All right.
See you guys.
He can't see the chat, Todd.
Yeah.
So I think they are down at Table Rock, or wherever they go to, Taneycombe, Table Rock, someplace down in there.
I see something up here I hadn't noticed before. It says show comments on stage at the top, and it's like a beta thing. Chat overlay. That must be kind of like that other live stream program that Brad was using for a while.
Yeah.
We had it on the chat.
Yeah.
Must be what that is.
And it may just stream the comments like DC says.
Yeah.
When you speak, it may put it in cursive for us, or not cursive, but print.
Chat overlay lets you display live comments directly on your stream. Please note that some platforms like Twitch may have specific guidelines limiting display of comments from other destinations, blah, blah, blah. I don't think I want that.
We can get in enough trouble without.
Yeah, see, Matt's in here.
Matthew, I went and seen your new tax write-off today. I beat you to him.
I tried to put some cappings in the wax melter this week. It melted a little bit, but it'll get real hot. You know how Louisiana gets sometimes. Then big clouds roll in.
That's what's been happening.
They go and they get real hot. So
yeah,
it ain't doing much right now. Maybe around mid-June, I can start using it.
We were cloudy just about all day here.
I have the link pinned at the top if anybody wants to come in and chat with us. There we go. I went to my Taylor yard. I did a little recording out there. It those boxes, two of the four. Of course, one of them's that big swarm, and the other one of them's kind of behind. Had about 3 frames of honey up in the third box, but 2 of them had full boxes, and a good portion of those were capped. I pulled them the other day, spun them out, and brought them back. I had got 3 medium boxes ready to just go put on top of them because they got the third deep on them now, and it was just all plastic in the mediums. I said I'll give them room because the last time I looked in there was a lot of bees, but when I opened it up in that third box, when I opened the lid, there was a lot of bees there, but it wasn't boiling out kind of bees. I said, well, maybe they don't need this other box. I'll pull some of these frames, spin them out, bring it back. So that day I spun those frames out and took them back that evening. And while I was at it, I set those 3 boxes I had prepared for them on the back porch. Said they won't need these. I opened them boxes up and they just come boiling out of there. There was all kind of bees in there. I guess they all flying, bringing in nectar while I was there. I said, well, I should have left them on the truck.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yep.
My bees aren't doing much early. It's been last 2 or 3 nights. We got down to in the 40s. One, I think, not before last. It's warmed up decent again. The nighttime temperatures are.
Yeah, we hadn't got cold, but we've had some nice cool mornings. I mean, just feel good mornings, not really cold, just cool and dry. This morning when I walked out the door, I could feel it wasn't really cold or it wasn't really hot, but I could feel the humidity this morning. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
The honeybee compound.
No, I've got on all my production hives, I've got at least two mediums, and I've got several with 3, and I've got a couple. I've got 4 above the excluders. So I know the ones that got 4. I know 2 of them's pretty solid, filled, capped. Should be pulled, but I'm not going to pull till I think maybe I don't know, second week of June, maybe. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, I wish I had enough boxes to keep stacking.
Well,
maybe I'll do that. Have that one day when I get down to 20 hives. I'll have enough boxes to put.
Yeah, good luck. That's what I keep saying. I was down to where I wanted to be here about 2 months ago. Now I'm way above where I want to be. I think I've got 53 right now, 53 or 4. That's way too many for an old man by himself. So my wife said I wasn't very smart anyway, so I'm starting to think she might be right. I've still got to just talk about honey and extracting. I was kind of totaling up. I've still got, 350, 400 pounds from of last year's honey yet, but they're carrying it off on me pretty good. My little farm markets, I'm being pretty steady, on selling it. So
Yeah.
I created a monster that Brian Zavada and Melissa talked me into starting that cream honey stuff, and I can't keep it.
Yeah. It don't do good around here for me. It kind of trickles through my son's store. It don't walk off the shelf,
Yeah.
but it kind of trickles through. So I'll probably keep it a little long for him. But the hardware store down here that sells my liquid honey, he act like he didn't want to try to mess with it. So
Yeah. You know, I found out if you set it out like where it gets hot, like where it gets, 85, 90 degrees, it'll kind of start breaking down. So I've been storing mine in a styrofoam cooler and putting those ice packs, that on it and changing them about once a day, and it keeps a lot better, a lot prettier. So
hey
hello
now,
there.
let's see what this question is.
The Colorado kid, I think. And
So for the panel, will a mating nuke start bringing in pollen if it goes laying worker? They'll bring in pollen. That's just what they do. They'll feed those little drone cells just like they will anything else.
yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Joey. Doing good. I don't
That's
normally
great.
I don't normally come in on these things, but I wanted to ask a question. I
Sure.
went this a friend of mine that's in their bee club. He called me up and wanted me to go over his apiary and check out one of his hives, and he thought he had a brood disease, and he wanted to evaluate whether it's American foul brood or European foul brood or what. He was afraid that it was American foul brood. And I went over there and looked at it, and it wasn't American foul brood because it didn't have the concave cappings and didn't have the smell. It didn't rope, and it wasn't sac brood because it was before the cappings. The brood was being affected before the cappings. So we kind of figured it was that European foul brood, and it wasn't a bad case of it, but nevertheless, he had it, and so I suggested that he try. I don't know if you remember, last year Bob Benny did a video on that essential oil on shop towels that Chris Warner uses for various things. Bob Benny used it for that European foul brood, and it worked for him. Has anybody that you know of used that method and have it work for him?
Nobody I know of.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Bob Benny's video on that
Seemed
blue
like
shop
I
towel.
remember something about that a while back.
Yeah,
But
he used that. It was canola oil, eucalyptus oil, tea tree oil, and camphor, and apparently it's an organic way of treating European foul brood because he's trying to get away from the antibiotics. But that's what I suggest with him. So we're going to mix up some of them shop towels and give it a whirl. And Bob says after a couple of weeks, it cleaned up that European hive brood in this
Yeah.
one hive that he had on the video.
I know they got an antibiotic, I think, that some people use on that too.
Yeah, that tetramycin or something, or tetracycline.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here again in Colorado, they've changed this where you have to get a vet to give you
Yeah,
a
you got to
prescription.
get it through the vet.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it seems like to be quite a process. And then here again, what Bob Benny was suggesting on this video that he was he wasn't feeling good about all these antibiotics in your hives that building up a resistance to antibiotics, plus it's in your food chain and everything else. It's just like the cattle industry with all the antibiotics on their cattle and stuff is affecting the human consumption of the beef.
Now, I've also heard people talking about you want to make sure that you got a good laying queen.
Yeah.
If you got one that's not laying real good, you want a good, strong laying queen in there.
And that's
And that'll
something I
help.
suggested
That'll help get rid of.
that he requeen. He requeen his hive.
Yeah.
We put these essential oil shop towels on it. And another thing, another side note, is very aggressive. I've never seen such an aggressive hive. I mean, I don't normally get stung, but man, they lit me up. I got a big old fat finger and everything. And yeah, he must have got 15 stings up his ankles, and crawling up his leg, and they were really aggressive. Would that European foulbrood or foulbrood disease cause aggressiveness in the hive?
Yeah,
Yeah,
anything
I can't
aggressive will make them ornery. You know,
I can't see the chat,
yes.
so I don't know what anybody's saying in the chat. So if you see something on the chat, kind of repeat it for me if you would. But yeah, that's what I was up against today, helping this guy out. And I personally have never seen European foulbrood before, or American foulbrood. I have a good dose of chalkbrood that I'm trying to clean up, and I tried that. I tried that condensing hive the last couple of years that Bill Heschbeck and David Peck had put out a video on, with a heavy insulation above and no vent with a double bubble, and I've got a 4-inch insulation box, not a quilt box. I used to run quilt boxes, and I kind of got away from it. But man, this last year, it was sealed up pretty good, and then I put 1.5 inch insulation on the outside on these ones in my home yard. And the weak hives, not the strong hives, because they had the bee power to ventilate the hive, but the weak colonies that didn't have the bee power, I had some mold big time, but it wasn't on top because the dew point changed down low, and I run slatted racks, and that shelf on that slatted rack captured that moisture right above that slatted rack, and I had some ruined frames because of mold. It's pretty bad.
You see Matt's, is that the same stuff you
No.
called out?
I don't have. I
Yeah,
don't.
that's
I can't
what
see the chats.
Oh.
Eucalyptus, camphor, and tea tree oil. That's correct, Bob Benny.
Yeah,
That's the 3 essential oils that he uses. And the writer is canola oil to saturate the blue shop towels. But yeah, it's an issue. I know we've had this one guy here in Colorado a couple years ago. He was big in the Colorado State Beekeepers Association, SEF, and he had a good dose of European foulbrood, and man, he fought that for a good long while to get it out of his colonies. I hope this gentleman ain't going through that same thing though. But I just wonder if anybody had any experience with that at all.
No, I hadn't.
Tom, you ever work with them essential oils at all?
I actually never have. I've never really had much of a problem with it myself, honestly. So it's difficult for me to speak from my experience. But what I can do is, I could tell you what I've heard the other people say, much like what you've heard with Bob Benny. Sometimes they'll actually requeen a colony. Sometimes you can actually feed it because it can. I think it can be corrected fairly easily with some good nutrition as well. This is my understanding. This is not my experience.
This is kind of a head scratcher too, because in this apiary, it's kind of where my Foxfield apiary is, and they're in a huge flow. I mean, we're adding boxes, so the nectar's coming in and pollen's coming in. They got frames, sheets of pollen, so I don't think it's a nutrition thing. But yeah,
hey, Peter, we can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear him, Joey?
Yeah.
Hi. I think it's on your end, Tom, because we're hearing okay. I even hear JW. Speak up, JW.
Well, I don't have a lot to say tonight.
You got wore out on the brush hog. That's why. Every time I hook my old ass up to that tractor, that just wears me out. Wears me out. Tractor work.
I've had a long day.
Yeah, me too. All day in the apiary. But yeah, I thought I'd jump in real quick, ask that questions, get some feedback on anybody, see if they had any issues with it and what they did. But that's all I got. That's all I got.
Sorry, we couldn't help you much.
Kind of a one-trick pony tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump out so where somebody else can come in and talk some important stuff.
How do you pronounce this word here? Anybody ever use
Ivermectin.
ivermectin?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
What
In
is
the
it?
sugar water?
Was it some kind of antibiotic or something?
Yeah, it's an antibiotic. I use it.
On
I
your
used
cows?
to use it to worm dogs and horses and stuff. But it's
It's got to be good in your beehive then.
that's what ivermectin is. It's a
Antibiotic.
yeah, it's in the form of an antibiotic. It's a dewormer. There, Sarah. Thank you. I use it.
Brood break and weak requeen. Well, that's a good point, Mark. That's a good point. A good brood break. We're definitely going to requeen this thing because it got mean. I've never seen such a nasty hive as that thing.
Well, the requeening, a lot of times they clear up that European foul brood, just the fact that you put a new queen in them.
Yeah, I told them, move this colony to a different location. That way you could catch all them foragers back to put a box back to the original location. All them mean ass foragers will go in the new box, and you could take the old queen and requeen the nurse bees and the worker bees at a new location. Maybe clean it up. But yeah, I'm glad it wasn't in my apiary. Yeah, well, I'm gonna jump out.
Okay, Pete, thanks for stopping and visiting with us.
All right.
Yeah, every once in a while I gotta pop in just so you know what it looked like. All right. See y'all.
You act like you're lost, Sauceman. Can you not hear us? Hey, hello.
So, can you guys hear me?
Can't
Yeah.
hear you fine now.
So, can you guys hear me?
You're getting a
Yeah, we hear you and an
So I'm
echo.
listening on my phone, but I can't hear you guys through my laptop. I don't know what's going on.
you got a big delay of some kind.
I'm gonna try to log out and come back in.
Yeah.
All righty.
Oh.
Tom is living in the future.
I don't know about the I've used the eucalyptus. I've never used the tea tree oil in anything. So
I haven't used. Hey Rodney, I haven't used any kind of essential oil other than the lemongrass oil for swarm catching. That's about it. When I make sugar water, I might put if I'm going to use it like the next day or so, I'll put a little bit of bleach in it.
yeah.
I have put a little bit of lemon juice in it before, but never really any essential oils or anything.
Well, so those essential oils, they're not cheap. They're
Nope.
if you get a pretty good
Little bitty bottles cost a lot of money.
Yeah. We just don't have a lot of foul brood problem in our part of the world that I'm aware of anyway. Either I've never seen the American or know anybody that has seen it, and the European's pretty rare.
I see John's in here. Missed him a while ago.
Yeah, Jeff, I'd say you may be correct there on to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it'll pretty well clear it up on its own a lot of times if you requeen or something. Mark Miller, you're an expert on that kind of stuff. Well, you need to come in here and coach us a little bit.
Yeah.
He may be sitting out there. His truck broke down.
He's gonna mess with Melissa. Look at there.
Well, he's going to get Melissa to figure out what he's doing wrong.
Can't do anything by himself.
They can't hear us.
Evidently. Got an echo. Echo.
So the microphone must be working. Can you hear me, Joey?
Yeah,
It is
Yeah.
now.
I hear you earlier.
Okay. So I can't hear you through my laptop, and I don't know why. You're hearing the echo through my phone.
You must have something turned off.
What the heck was that?
All right, is it still
You're
working?
getting a big echo from something.
Okay. It was hooked up to Tom's earbuds. That's why.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Oh. I must have
Oh
been close.
yeah. You know, my truck does that to my phone sometimes.
I didn't
It'll work
realize
when
it.
somebody calls me, but when like a GPS,
Mm-hmm.
I use the GPS on my phone.
Yeah.
It won't talk. I can't hear it. The truck has it locked down, but it won't let the sound come out.
Normally it will tell you on the screen or whatever device you're using that it logged that it's going through a different device or something. And I didn't see that pop up on the screen unless I missed something. So
Well, we can hear you now.
Outdoors is gone.
it's going to be quiet here for a little bit. They're going to be outside hitting a pinata. So I may have to move again. There's probably 20 something people here. So
Oh, you're
Oh, really?
quiet there now. When you were on before, there's a lot of background noise behind you. Looked like you were underneath the porch or something. And the people.
actually I was on the downstairs patio underneath the deck and there was a few kids up there. So a bunch of my nieces and nephews are down here. So JW, have you ever experienced much EFB in your colonies?
No.
See, I haven't either. I think I've seen it once or twice for a very short-lived time, and it corrected itself.
Yeah, I said that a lot of times. Even if you move them a ways, or if you requeen them, a lot of times they'll clean themselves up.
Yeah.
I've never used. My dad had a time or two. We just move them or use some. We called it Purex, just bleach. Spread a little bleach water right on the frames. And then clear them up.
Yeah.
See Brad in here. I think it's Brad. Says his name, but I don't see him.
You blame the furniture.
Well, he sometimes.
Brad?
Blame the furniture.
Yeah, it sounded like Brad.
Hey,
We
Can't
hear
hear
see
me?
you. I can hear you, but I can't see you.
okay. Well, I'm going to drop out and try this again then.
Yeah, Clay, you're right. A good flow or nutrition, basically, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that can be experienced whenever the flow. I've understood that to be really wet and humid conditions, and maybe the flow stops. Much like, say, you get several days of period of rain or something at that point. Again, I'm pretty sure I've seen it one time, and it cleared itself up very quickly without me doing anything. So, I never seen a point in doing anything different.
So
It's
just no video.
Yeah.
We
You
can
don't
hear
have a
you.
lens. You don't have a lens cover on, do you?
No.
Huh.
The camera light is on, like it's active.
Hmm.
How about I just?
So I
Go
got
with
a
Kramer tonight.
lens cover here. When I put it on, it looks just like
Yeah,
yours.
I had a camera like that, but this one doesn't have a cover.
Well, we just look at Seinfeld.
You just look at Kramer, and that's good.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
my bad.
You don't
Sorry.
mind.
How you doing, Brad? Long time no hear. No.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's been busy.
Good
I'll
deal.
drop in and say hi.
Well, that's great. Good to hear from you.
Did some grafting today, so I'm hoping to
Oh,
get some queens and make some increase
it's your first graft?
for the season. Yeah, first graft in 2 years. I didn't do any last year.
Yeah.
Apiary's struggling again, so we got to do something about that. And
Huh.
getting some queens and making some splits is the first thing.
Huh.
Yeah, there's there's more colonies than there were last year, but there aren't very many more good ones. You know, there's
Mm.
maybe 60 or something out there, but a lot of them are just tiny. It's a little fist size of cluster.
Huh.
There's I don't know 6 or 8 that are actually pretty good.
Nightly.
Are you having a lot of moisture?
No, it's been very dry.
Very
Very
dry.
dry. We're under burning ban. We had wildfires a week. Was it a week ago? 2 weeks ago? So it was pretty tense here for a while. Had some big
Okay.
fires.
You think that smoke's affecting your bees?
The smoke does affect the bees. It's not been smoky very many days here though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when the wildfires were on here, the wind was blowing such that it really wasn't smoky here in my yard. They got within almost a quarter of a mile of my yard. The big fire burned 19 square miles of marsh.
Hmm.
Brad, would you expect that potentially you're seeing a poor nutrition? Is that the reason the bees might be struggling?
Well, I don't think so because we don't have much nutrition even up until this time in the landscape. There's really not a lot out there. There's a decent amount of pollen, but no nectar until recently. We've had some dandelions bloom,
Mm-hmm.
and I can see that in the bird chambers now that they're storing some of the dandelion. There's never enough for me to make any honey off a dandelion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably more hand to mouth, I'm assuming.
yeah, almost. They are able to store a little bit of it, and they're getting plenty of feed. You know, I have so many feed frames left over from winter that I can easily slide feed frames in for them. That's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't really know. I haven't sent anything to the lab yet this year, which I normally would, just trying to conserve cash. I think the key to everything that's going on is mite control, just like everybody, right?
Brad, do you have older queens in your operation, or are they all within a year or two? What does that look like for you?
They're all a year old.
So you don't have old queens.
No, because a year ago I had 0 queens. Remember?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Well, that's, can you see the chat, Brad?
I can.
You can? Okay.
Yeah.
Roy Pugh made a comment there. You know, he said he's seeing the same things. Oh, it's 8:22 on the timing.
8:22.
Yeah. Small cluster of Cleves wants to lay up a storm, but no bees to cover the.
Yeah. That's. You know, I don't know if you recall seeing on my video a few weeks ago. I was cleaning up dead outs, and I watched a queen climb up out of an empty box. So I went and got a frame of brood and a shake of bees, and I put her in a box with that over to the side. And as soon as I did that, I kind of thought, well, that was a stupid thing to do. She's obviously a dead queen. She was in a dead out. But then I checked back a while after, and she's laying like a champ. Sometimes they just need workforce, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't find it now. I saw somebody asking about Hillbilly Earl's channel. He was on Gunline Bees a week or two ago, I think. I don't even see that comment anymore.
No, I seen him on something not too long ago. He said he was trying to get
We went.
up. He'd been very unhealthy, I think, for a period of time.
I'm gonna fuss with my camera a little bit.
Maybe I'm gonna have to subcontract you to make my cream, Tony. I'm selling it fast and I can get it made.
Oh, yeah, dropped out.
That's Brad. Always enjoy visiting with him. He's pretty awesome.
Here we go. I found it. Yeah, I think he was on Gunline Bees a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, he hasn't been. That's Grayson and Wildwood, Honeybees. That's Grayson. Grayson, I don't think he's been very good physically. I don't think he's made doing much YouTube stuff. Now that's semi hearsay, Grayson. That's the reason he's been very active.
JW, have you checked any of those colonies or those
Yes.
potential virgin swarms to see if they have done anything inside of the colonies?
Yeah, they're all of them, but I'm not sure about two. All the rest of them I've got.
Hey, Bruce.
I didn't get them marked. Are you still planning on coming out next weekend? Are you going to be able to, you think? Or?
Potentially. I'll talk to you here a little bit later about it, but yeah, potentially.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, I think I'm in pretty good shape. I've got right at 50.
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% sure with Melissa just yet, honestly, because if she is not feeling better, she's definitely not going to be coming out, especially making the ride.
Well, I've got, if you, what I was going to tell you is, we can talk about it later, but I was going to tell you I got a place for you to spend the night right there if you're so inclined. You come out on Saturday.
Sure. Appreciate it.
So,
yeah,
I'm probably gonna treat Monday. I'm gonna just I know that I'm loaded with brood and all that, but I think I'm gonna shoot the whole caboodle. The OA, vapor.
Let her rip.
I'm not gonna test them or anything. I'm just gonna shoot every hive I got. I'm pretty well caught up. I went to see the new provider today. I ran out of equipment again. I picked up deeps, mediums, and excluders.
Now, Rodney, I hadn't saw that yet. I've been out all day. Can't get my phone to charge up.
Forced not in Sears.
JW is growing.
I can't stand to be much bigger. Either way, with bees or physically.
I've been thinking about just stacking all mine back together, all these little forms, stack them on the top.
Well, that's what it says on there.
Yeah, get back in here and say hi to
All
him.
man and the bees.
That's Mr. Irwin.
Well, howdy, young fellows.
Yes, how you doing?
Not
Is
too
your,
bad.
is my
is your
oldest,
daddy taking
and
you work wakeboarding, honey boy?
Wakeboarding?
Yeah, he wants to know if you've gone.
Not yet this trip, but last year we were doing a whole bunch. You got to break in the boat. The boat's too new. We got to break it in, and then we can do some wakeboarding.
So he just got this boat Thursday, so we have the break-in period. So we've just been running around in it, and honestly, I don't know if it's rained by you, but it rained. So we got down here Thursday night, and it rained that evening pretty hard. It was raining this morning up until maybe 10:30 or 11 here, and I mean it poured. I don't know how much rain you got, but it was a lot. And they're going to be under a flood warning because it's supposed to rain Sunday, tomorrow, and then also potentially Monday as well. So anyway, we just been playing on the sunshiny parts of the day, but the water's been cold. We went out this afternoon and that water was pretty cold. So
yeah, I'm actually if you've had a lot of rain. It hadn't rained here that much the last few days, but it's been cloudy, cool. It was 45 here one night.
Yeah.
I think what's today? Saturday evening. I think Thursday night it was 44. Here. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to get all my swarms gathered up, moved where I want them, and back in my yards. That one that I had all my equipment buried was across the fence line on my neighbor.
Yeah.
I've been moving it about 2 foot every day. I finally got it lifted up and over the fence a couple of days ago. So I've got about, I don't know, 8 or 10 foot to go, and I'll have the old. Look here, boss. Look at that puppy. Look here. Look at him. Get up here. Look at that. This puppy. Oh, he didn't stay hitched up till you can see him.
Come here. Up.
Tom's got a puppy. Look at that puppy. Look here, boss.
Is he potted? Is that dog potted?
Look at that puppy.
Is that a cur?
This right here?
Yeah.
It's a Catahoula.
Catahoula cur, yeah.
Emmy.
I love Catahoulas.
Looks like he's glass-eyed, is he?
Yeah.
Female.
She's got blue eyes.
Yeah.
She's a little bit feisty. They have 2 of them. The other one, Emmy, is the one that you just seen is they call her Magnolia, and then Emmy. But Magnolia is the dominant one, so she's always causing the fuss and
she's pretty,
trying to be dominant. But they're fun.
Mark, you're right. Our annual here is 48, but I don't know where we're at. We're way above average to date, but we're not. We're not near 43. That's not good for your queen raising operation, I wouldn't think.
I asked if your colonies were. I asked if your colonies were doing well, and they've come back queen right because the last 2 weeks we've had a lot more dry days, even though we've had some storms and such. But that was the time that I had the second round of splits that would actually be queens would be mating. So far I've done really good because I got into a lot of colonies this last week, and most of my colonies came back and they have mated queens and are actually laying really well.
Yeah.
We had a few left on a wait list to sell nukes to. We're going to turn out maybe 8 or 10 more, and then I'm going to cut it off because I don't want to turn any more out at this point.
Yeah,
so.
I think I'm having, I think I've only got 2 that I'm not sure that I haven't, found a queen and suspect on the eggs, So I went into them hard and deep, but enough to tell that a lot of those cells you left, they've got the queens are back and they're laying. A 3 of them just laying just beautiful patterns.
I would imagine by now some of those queens probably have a lot of capped brood in there, don't they?
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're just some of them's almost solid both sides.
We should have had queens being mated the last 2 weeks, last week and also the week before. There should have been queens that were mating. So I kept watching the weather and seeing what that looked like because I had a little concern. Too many cold days, too many windy days, too many rainy days, that starts to mess things up. And I end up with poor queens and, have to redo all that. I don't want to do that. Melissa's hopefully going to try to start doing some grafting on herself for our own operation. I have 6 red queens that need to be replaced. We'll roll the rest of the nukes back into the operation, and then I'll probably try to requeen half of my green queens this year, actually, because we had such good success on the queens that we had started last year and then grew those into full-size colony. Those overwintered with magnificent numbers and really good success. So I don't see any reason to go and mess around with that. So I'm going to requeen some of those other ones as well. Anything that I think is just remotely questionable or I have any kind of question mark, I'm just going to requeen it, I think. But that could have been the part of the key to the great overwintering success we had on the production colonies.
Now, I haven't built any cell builders. I haven't started yet, so I kind of need to, if you want to try to mess with some, I don't care where we do or not, because I don't have any. I can build a cell builder in a couple 3 days, can I not?
I restarted the whole thing. Sorry, guys.
I'd like to see it longer than that, but
I hear you.
I mean,
Brad, no visual. We got video.
hey, Matt's got himself a new filming spot. Looks like he's by a fire.
Yeah. No, that's just a mosquito candle.
Oh, I got you.
A little ambiance, that's all.
You could lie and make up some really great story and make
Yeah,
us
it's
jealous.
a crackling fire. And the truth is, it's a last year's little 3-week mosquito candle.
Looks like a bat flying after the moon. Chasing the moon.
Yeah, it does.
Matt, did you get any rain last night into this morning, or did that not hit St. Louis?
It didn't come up this far. Yeah, we've had pretty cool and crisp in the morning, but it warmed right up with the sun. So we've had some. I don't know how much nectar they're bringing in, but they're sure flying hard and with some intent. So
yeah, fishing down here hasn't been great. I can tell you that.
yeah, that's.
Not hitting.
They're probably just as confused as the bees are.
I think so. It's been, I know we kind of say this from year to year, but it really kind of has been an odd year. We've had more tornadoes in the state of Missouri in the first 3 months. We've actually doubled what we see annually in the first, since 4 months.
Let me get my finger. See this where my finger's pointing?
Yep.
That's the reason you're having all this crap right there.
No, you're pointing to the wrong guy. Go to the other side of the screen. You're pointing at Brad. Other way. Can't see your hand.
It's the other way.
You mean down here at an angle. Over that. There you go. Joey's pointing.
Who is that guy anyway? That's why he's in the dark.
I'm gonna have to change my settings. I'm gonna have my settings backwards. Hang on.
It looks like I'm on a witness protection program.
Yeah. Hey, I think we're gonna have to was it Nancy Kerrigan, your kneecaps?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, kneecap you or
Hey,
whatever.
I haven't been doing it long enough to know any better, but April 1st, I try to have 4 frames of brood. So that's just so happened that this year, I did the same thing. So, and I'm not sure if I split them down hard enough, to tell you the truth, because the black locust came a little bit later than normal, about the first week of May. So that let that 4 frames of brood really blow up in the, in the double deeps. They were pretty stout. So,
Locusts starting to dry up again already, Matt.
yeah, I think we're in a little bit of a dearth, after all that nectar flow coming in. I think until they kind of get set into that summer flow of clover and, the wildflower portion. So.
And the beauty is the clover's here. The problem is the temperatures are not. I guarantee you it's not producing any nectar because it's too cold.
Lots of blackberries around me. That's clover.
See, Bruce made a comment there. The switch got flipped down here. The tallow's flowing like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I told some of them earlier in the chat that Mike Berry called me today. He said, "Get ready. It's here." So me and the wife went out there and started stacking boxes. Usually whatever starts at Mike's is 5 to 7 days, sometimes less.
Mm-hmm. That's way Mark Miller is for us. He's about 2 weeks ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
Week and a half to 2 weeks, it seemed like, all year. So But yeah, I heard Peter come on talking about those essential oil shop towels. And I had used those actually all season last year. Really, not for any kind of EFB or AFB, but for hive beetle control. I watched a Bob Benny video with Chris Werner, and that's what he uses. And they didn't mess with any of the mating nukes whatsoever. You know, we probably had somewhere in the 90% on our return. So you would think that, you know, if something's going to be sensitive to it, it would be a queenless colony trying to search out new pheromones on a new queen, you know, and kind of some of that delicate timing and all that. But they really did a good job. You know, I feel like as far as keeping the hive beetles at bay, and I would also, because they're on a shop towel, I would put one or two underneath the mating nukes that were on the ground. And ants, for whatever reason, do not want to cross that barrier. They don't want anything to do with the three blend, whichever oils are working in that sense. They really seem to work well.
I'm going to suggest that you could use one of them alone and have the same.
Possibly.
The eucalyptus will do it pretty much by itself, I'm going to suggest, but I'm just telling you my thoughts.
Now that the camphor, something about one of those oils makes it smell like a kind of a grandma's, I don't know, camphophenique, maybe, if I'm saying that right, from the 80s.
Yep. That's
Kind
what it is.
of, it reminds me of my grandma's, kind of a smell like that. So it's not, you know, it's not overpowering, but it's definitely a smell that you can pick up. So
That's what the camphor is. That's the OS affinity bags and the camphophenique. You
yep.
used to rub it under your nose and on your lips, and it cured everything from hemorrhoids to gonorrhea.
So, but yeah, so
Uh, yep.
bees seemed to do really well with it. You know, it didn't seem to bother them, I guess, which is I was kind of surprised, you know, and I was just more cautious about the hive beetle threat. So it did its purpose. But to be honest, I haven't used it this year. Um, but if I needed to, I wouldn't hesitate. Put it that way.
Yeah, I don't think our flow's near over, but it's I like to see it be a little warmer overall. But my hives are still so heavy that they're bearding pretty bad. All my heavy hives, they're bearding pretty profusely.
Hmm. Yeah, we have some of our bigger hives have two mediums, and they're working on the second deep up on top, so they're almost four supers in. So I gotta start extracting here pretty soon and get some comb back on them. But they're definitely bringing it in, you know, that's for sure. So, like you said, warmer weather would definitely be helpful.
Yeah, I still want to draw out the comb and all those mediums that I bought. I have all the rest of everything that I had drawn out from last year is already on the colonies. I had put some more boxes on last week before I left, but it's really weird. I think the flow is for us anyway is really up and down lately. You know, we started off really hot and heavy, and then that second week that the black locust was flying, we had all that rain, and that kind of didn't shut it down, but it basically all but shut it down. And then it's just been, I think, up and down ever since then. You might get something for a day or two and then nothing. And
that's
I think
the way ours has been all the year. This whole spring, it's just been.
I really believe that's why the swarming pressure stepped back in and it went hot and heavy because they weren't completely tied up and in that honey production mode, and it wasn't strong enough for a consistent enough time that the bees went back to that swarming mode. And at that point, you know, if you didn't catch it and they swarmed, now you can just kiss the honey production of that colony goodbye. You might have caught the swarms or made some increase, and that's great and that's fine. But you can write off any of the honey production for this year as far as that colony is concerned, which is my only slight aggravation. I don't have to produce a ton of it to suffice or to take care of my customers, but you know, you wanted to produce a little bit. Pretty happy with the nuke sales and stuff, so that was a good part of it, but would have been nice to have both of them in the bag.
Well, you know, speaking of those swarms, I'm mad at them little suckers. I got me something rigged up. If they're not at least 35 feet high or higher, they're doomed. I'm gonna get that weed.
You gonna shotgun them?
No, I've rigged me up an extension.
Okay.
It works. I've tried it out.
Yeah, John brings up a good point there. He says Mother Nature just messing with y'all, turning the faucet on and off, and that is exactly what is happening in my area.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird because it seemed like a day or two. I can pull into a yard and I can just hear the hum of the bees. The activity is great. They're fanning at the entrance to dry things down, and then you get a night or two that's either chilly or rain or windy or whatever it might be, and it completely shuts down again. So it'd be nice to see some of that clover that's really blooming hot and heavy, because we've had plenty of moisture, so it'll bloom or it's blooming, but we have to have the temperatures to meet up with it. Unfortunately, it seemed like it cooled back off, significantly over the last handful of days, and it's just not warm enough, I don't think. So,
JW, I was gonna send you a picture. I'm not sure what this small yellow flower that's blooming along all the white Dutch clover in those hay fields, but it's like it's about the same height as the clover is, but it's just a little yellow bud.
And that's
Almost
the
like one.
watercress. What they call watercress. I imagine is it about the flower about the size of a dime, maybe.
Yeah, maybe or smaller, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's watercress, but the bees don't work very much.
Right. I mean, it's thick in the hayfield. It's not. I can just see it driving.
Yeah, it's thick right now, but the bees don't work it. Or mine, not in mine area. So, it's called watercress, I think. Tom's googling me. He's gonna find.
Look at there.
There he is.
There it is.
I had to go outside to get this working so you can see.
Well, good deal. Boy, I hate you have to stand out there to snow, though, Brad.
I had to borrow a browser that I don't normally use, and when it came up, this is the only background picture that was loaded, so that's what we get tonight.
Yeah, well, it's too bad you have to stand out in the snow there. Hope it's not
Sucks.
too cold on you, buddy.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day today. So good to see everybody.
Hey, Brad.
If I remember right, I've seen Brad walking around in the snow in shorts before.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
He reminds me of my youngest son. He like that. He freezes me to death. He runs around in shorts and t-shirts, and when it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit, we way below freezing. He'd be running around.
Hey, bro.
I didn't know you had a new one. No wonder Melissa.
Boy, in the winter, I don't like the cold. I'm just not a cold weather person.
Say hi to him.
There's Philip.
He's on a call with people. Come on here with your bear. Say hi. This is our future bee helper right here.
There we
There
go.
you go.
He's
There
too
you go. It's done.
Come here too.
See, so you can see yourself.
And then this one here too. Look, you're on the screen.
Look right here.
Start them young.
She's a little bashful.
Yeah.
This is little Minnie.
Tell him hi. Show him what you got.
You want to show me your sucker? No.
Eugene, I'm in southeastern Illinois. I'm about 25 miles from Indiana and about
You see him?
50 miles from Kentucky.
Thanks, kiddo.
Don't hold that against him.
No, please don't. Or anybody else in the area.
We don't, JW.
You,
Hey, so I have a question, JW. Watercress. That's a white bloom, yes?
no, it's a little yellow bloom.
It's a white flower with a yellow center? Or it's
No,
full yellow?
bloom. It's a yellow bloom.
Yeah, this is all yellow that I'm seeing, at least. Almost looks about like the size of a Q-tip, but just yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, I'm seeing it, on the going down the country road here. So I didn't stop and take a picture, but it looks about the size of a Q-tip.
Yeah. It's about the size of a dime, I think. The what I call the watercress is.
Okay.
A little old fine stem flower,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
about the same height as
Grammy.
Dutch clover. Or
Yep.
wild mustard, not here. We have very little mustard. A lot of people that the farmers call mustard is what they call butterweed. Here, Russell, I don't know. A lot of the farmers call it wild mustard, but it's actually butterweed.
Butter weed.
Butterweed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's prolific in this area. It's just until they spray, the fields are just covered with it. It's got a long hollow stem, grows up. It'll get about 2 to 3 foot tall. A lot of, like I said, a lot of farmers call it wild mustard, but it's actually generically it's what they call butterweed. I've got maybe if I can get it to show up, let me see how far up my waterbury, and maybe I can show you a picture of what I'm trying to tell you. I wouldn't bet on it.
Turnip mustard.
I got a question for y'all.
Yeah, man.
I was grafting today, and I'm trying to remember everything I've learned. People tell me, but my memory isn't very good sometimes. When that builder starts to feed those queen larvae for me, how many days do they feed them? Do they feed them right up until capping, or do they feed them only for a shorter period of time?
My guess, my rookie guess, is that they're amply fed within 2 or 3 days, and they're just tending until it's they elongate the cap to the capping stage. But that's just my guess. I feel like they're anytime I've checked, when you're seeing a charged cell or whatever, there would be a bee, I guess, poking all the way down in there. But I'm wondering if it's still feeding after a certain time, or
Yeah,
what I'm guessing would be like a 3 or 4 day cell, and I don't know,
there's a
but that's just a
glimmer in my
guess.
memory that somebody told me 48 hours.
Mm-hmm. That's just my, like I said, a rookie guess.
Because I'm in the situation I'm in, I need to really produce as many queens as I can as fast as I can. And I've gathered together the strongest cell builder I can out of my meager apiary. I was thinking if I can graft again as soon as they're done feeding what I have, because feeding really is their biggest job. So I can put another graft in there perhaps. I know I can do
Mm-hmm.
that when they cap, which will be, I think, Thursday will be the day they'll cap those. So I can graft again on Thursday.
Yeah, I
For
want to say
sure.
Bob Benny was doing or had a video of a 28 or a 48-hour cell placement into a nuke to where they finished the cell.
Yeah,
If
you're
I
right.
if I
He
remember
did
right.
that. As I recall, he wasn't too impressed how that worked out, but I do remember he was doing that 48-hour
Mm-hmm.
cell.
And almost put it in like a cell protector and then just kind of put it right there in the brood.
Yeah, yeah. Problem I found is they don't incubate queen cells. They incubate brood, but
Mm-hmm.
they won't if the queen cell isn't kind of right in the vicinity of the brood, they won't go over here to incubate the queen cell.
Well, I'm reading a thing here on on Google, and it's AI.
I did that too.
Says the
So what did your
queen's fed
AI say?
every 90 seconds,
Oh, okay.
but it doesn't say when they stop feeding
Yeah.
it.
I asked AI too, and I think it seemed to just say that they're, stop feeding when it's capped or something like that. It wasn't very definitive. So I just was wondering how fast I can go back in there. If it's 48 hours, then I can go back in there, drop another graft in on, say, Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
4 days, Mark? Oh, good. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Mark would know. 4 days. So not 48 hours, it's 4 days. Okay.
I'm about to show up where you can read it or not. That's
The burr clover.
that's the watercress.
Tip it back a little bit. It's just too much of an angle. Yeah,
Can't see it with your virtual background on. You have to turn that off.
Well, okay.
Then we'll see all your secrets.
See, I don't have anything on below my waist.
Well, I don't think
there's a mirror in the background.
Please don't turn off the virtual thing then. Please do not. I beg you.
Let me get my mouse over here.
We don't want to see those secrets.
That mirror is going to show everything.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, you might be barking up a tree that you don't want to bark up.
You've heard of Victoria's secret? Well, this is JW's secret.
Okay. You go back to now. Tip it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's
How
not
tall
what I'm
are they?
seeing.
They're kind of tall, ain't they?
Well, they look. That's out of proportion. It looks like they're a lot bigger than what the flowers are on the actual.
Okay.
Okay, here, Joey, let me hold one up and show one thing that Ben Schmidt had suggested called burr clover.
Yeah, that's it.
It's very short and very, very low to the ground.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just yellow. Just a yellow. It's amongst the clover. I almost want to say it's a clover of some kind.
Oh yeah, that's definitely it. I understand what he was talking about when he said burr clover. Then, thanks, Ben.
Burr, you like burr oak, BURR?
Correct. You can also look up burr, BURR, medic, MEDIC.
Philip, you ought to come on in here now.
I don't guess I've been around long enough to know
Easy.
what burr clover is. I may have seen it, but I've never heard it called
It's
burr
possible. It's possible you'll see it in your lifetime if you stick around long enough.
We're here to teach each other, JW.
The blind.
Well,
here.
I'm either going to have to put my pants on or put my virtual screen up.
Stop throwing that image in my head. I like it.
I'm not going to sleep for days now.
I'm just
Yeah,
joking. I'm just joking.
All right, Randy.
I'll put a picture up of my good old best buddy, Donk.
Donk.
That's his name. He's a character.
Hey, Philip, don't encourage him, okay?
Does he pull a plow?
No, sir.
Who knows?
He's a liberated donk. He's so lazy that when I walk up to him, he sticks his head. He'll lay his head on my shoulder and want me to hold his head up. That's how lazy he is.
He's a millennial, huh?
But he's not a mule. He is a true donkey. He's a white donkey. And he's not for sale either, by the way. Anybody that's interested in buying him.
I got 25,000. That was the going rate a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's what I asked you. The guy came. He was from the dirty side. That's the reason I asked him.
Yeah, you see what Todd said?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Todd,
Todd,
he's told the story. I've told him the story, I think, about my dog. You have to come out and see him, Prater. He's a fine animal.
He can be your ring bearer.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Does he let you know when somebody pulls up?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, mostly
Mhm.
me though. If he every morning he greets me, he comes to the gate. Oh, yeah.
Does he let anybody else in the pen with him?
Oh yeah. Or my dog, but no stranger dog. He'll kill a stranger dog or a coyote in a flash second.
Believe it.
He can come. Kick, bite, throw him, pick him up by the neck and just throw him. I've seen him kill more than one coyote, and I got a hold of a couple of dogs, but they got away from him. But you know, my little dog go right out there with him. He don't even pay attention to him. But he didn't know he was a donkey for years because he always run with cattle, and I had all the cattle. That's the reason I had him. You know, they hate coyotes. The donkeys do.
Yeah.
Yeah, JW, you said you went and saw the supplier.
Yep.
Got some more boxes. Good for you.
Well, yeah, good for him, bad for me.
Yeah, you're going to 100 this year, aren't you?
I don't think so.
It's easy to do.
It's awful. I think this is my third trip. I bought I bought 20 deeps and 40 mediums more. Another all the excluders he had. Sauceman came out and sucked them about all up. I think all the excluders here a week or two ago.
I left him some. I took most of that stack though. I can tell you that.
Well, I got 9 and I wanted 20.
You want to buy some?
No,
We can do some horse trading or some donkey trading.
I ain't trading. I wouldn't even trade underwear with you.
What about for a donkey?
You'd skin me, you know.
We could sell them for $25K.
Yeah.
Matt, can you find us a buyer?
I can start looking.
Yeah. Let's see what we can do there. Split it.
I was in the service where they made us change underwear every day, you know. The company commander would come through and he'd say, well, Irwin, you change with Jones, and Jones, you change with Ramsbottom, Sauceman, you change with Early Wine. Changed every day.
Oh gosh. Lord help this fella.
Well, truth be known, it's times are tough.
Yeah.
It's one big happy family.
Brian says the lure of growth can be a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
You see if you can't get away about Saturday.
I've been following the conversation there.
I'll be looking for you to come to the clean side. When you coming after your stuff, you know?
He said
him or,
yeah, I called him and placed the order. He said it's going to be ready for early next week. He didn't say a day yet.
oh, okay. Well, he
So I
told me
assume
it was next week and called me today and said he had it done. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm assuming Tuesday or Wednesday.
I just joking about not having any pants on. I do have pants on. Don't be starting that, Morris.
We believe you.
He's quite the disturber too.
Yeah. I just knocked my camera
But yeah,
loose now.
I think I've found my comfortable number. I feel like for the most part, and it's going to be about where I'm at. No, but I don't even know, but about 135 to 125, somewhere around there, because mating nukes are coming back pretty well, and I'm gonna sell another round of nukes off is what I'm gonna do. These are gonna be with our mated queens, and things are going really well. But I'm looking at those like, man, I really don't want to have to house that nuke. It's growing really well. I'm either gonna have to sell it, or I'm gonna have to put it in a 10 frame deep, and I'm really kind of tired of buying foundation. I've hand waxed 800 frames of deep foundation this year and got them into hives. I'm building frames and putting in foundation as fast as I can basically build it the night before. So just kind of riding that wave through the spring growth, and gonna really take it easy the later half. I don't think I'm gonna be doing much after July, just try to grow these colonies up to ones I don't sell off and get them ready for winter. I think my numbers might be wrong, but I think we only have 5 brood cycles left. So if you think about it like that, 5 or 6, depending on when the cooler weather starts hitting, that's every 21 days.
Mm-hmm.
We do the math. We're already in the almost the 6 month of the year. So basically, any
I was
splits I'm making
cold. I
right
had to
now.
change that.
Wow, that snow melted quick,
Not
Brad.
near as cold now, are you, buddy? Warmed up.
It's a flood now.
So just trying
Oh,
just
no.
trying to be
I'll interrupt
cognizant
you.
of splits I'm taking. And
100 and what, Matt?
colonies.
Yeah,
I'm at about 100 and probably 140 right now, but I'm going to be selling some off.
it must be good to be young.
Mm.
Uh,
There's
It would be good
five
to be.
yards, 5 yards in total. So there's spreading them out. The largest yard probably has 70 hives in it. So it's also our production hive or production yard, but it's also our mating yard. So it's got a lot going on right now. So come the dearth, there's no way I could be feeding small splits. Put it that way. These some pretty big hives in that yard.
If that's for me, Nelson, I'm not close to Marion. I'm about probably 60 miles from Marion, maybe 65, 70. I'm northeast of Marion, Illinois.
Hey, Matt, how many of those nukes additionally are you going to sell?
I think in between 15 to 20, probably.
Oh, I might have.
Our second round of so after we bought those mated queens and made our first round of nuke sales, we left behind a frame of brood and all the foraging force, and those are all over double screen boards. And it was noticeable the splits that we raised over double screen boards were easily a week and probably a brood frame ahead of any of the nuke splits that we made in just a wooden 5 frame box that was on a stand. So
Yeah.
you notice they
they
draw wax faster too,
oh yeah,
on
absolutely.
top of a double screen.
That double screen board is just absolutely for a small colony,
Yeah,
a win-win. I don't even know how to explain it, but there's not been a downfall that I've noticed other than you have to lift that double screen board off to get to the colony below. That's the downside, no matter when,
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
It gets
wintertime,
to
I
the point
noticed
where you
that.
got to
Feed
take
the
it
bottom
off,
one.
and move it somewhere.
Yep. So it was also handy because right before the flow really kicked in, I was able to take those mating nukes off right before there's the cells that they drew themselves were going to hatch. So I pulled them off, set them along the wood line, and then cracked the tops of all my production colonies that they were sitting on. And then all that foraging force came in and basically boosted the production colonies right at the peak of the flow, or right at the precipice, so to speak. So I kind of boosted my production colonies at the same time, pulled those splits off for them to be able to mate off of the colony, so to speak, and try to control the fact the virgins flying around, my production colonies and getting in them. Not that it couldn't happen anyway in the same yard, but 50 yards away, a little less of a chance.
Did you turn the entrances to the double screen board opposite of the production colony?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. You shouldn't have had any drift going on the front side of the colony,
Yeah, I didn't want to chance it, because those were all set up for going to be, set up for production. So I didn't want to
Oh, no, that's what I'm
chance.
saying. By you having it reversed, you were
Oh,
good.
gotcha.
That's what I'm saying. And I did the same thing. And we should have had queens mating last week and this week. And I kind of just did a light peek into a couple of them. And if I seen eggs, I quickly closed it back up because you can tell what's funny is
And this kind of goes for the whole queen profile or the pheromone profile for the queens. Sometimes even once they start laying and before that queen has really started to spread that pheromone in there, they still may not fully recognize that they're queen right, because sometimes when you open them up and just a little disturbance, you hear that light little rumble coming from them, and then I'm visibly looking at eggs or maybe young larvae, and I see the queen in there, and so I'm like, okay, you just lightly put it back together, and I don't even use any smoke on these girls,
Yeah.
And just lightly put it back together, leave them alone, knowing that again, once they kind of start to really move that pheromone around the colony, then all the girls are really recognize that they're in a good place, I think.
So is there danger to the queen at that point, or because when you introduce a queen, you disturb them too early, they can ball the queen. So is there
Sure.
that kind of danger there?
I think so.
I feel like absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
What's your comfort zone as far as when you want to check at the earliest for eggs?
That's a good question, Brad. For me, I would say ideally 2 weeks. Now, I did have some that were later stage larvae, and I even had a handful of them that already had some capped in there. So at that point, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Probably was a little bit jumping the gun on a few things. But I also had some queens that I had brought up that I needed to use. So my goal was, if it failed and nothing worked, I was just going to introduce a mated queen into there through a candy release to use those up before I made additional splits. That was my goal, in which the reason I was going into these colonies, probably a little bit premature though. Yes.
Yeah, it always depends on when she mates, isn't it? And that's what you need to check. You're checking because you need to know if she mated. And I know sometimes I can't even believe the math when I go in. Like, my mating success in July is just tremendous, absolutely tremendous, and fast too. And there are days, there are times that I've checked a mating nuke, and I look at the larva that she's got in there, and I can estimate the age of the larva. He's laying in 2 days.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Almost like she got mated the day she was born, huh?
Almost. Like generally, I'm introducing virgins, so they'll hit the mating nuke within, let's say, 8 to 10 hours after emergence, and then sometimes like 2-3 days she's laying, and that is just astounding to me.
That's fast.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes they sit around and they take 16 days.
Yeah.
I've seen so-called experts at someplace. I'm not going to say who it was now because I don't remember. But this guy was pretty knowledgeable, and he said 4 days on the average they'd be laying.
4 days on the average.
I believe
on
it.
the average.
On the average.
That's pretty amazing.
I'm way over cautious because I usually wait 21 before I disturb them unless I'm in a big hurry and just can't stand to not look.
21 from emergence?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's difficult because you get the 3-week window before laying workers. So if you have no brood production for 3 weeks, you have no brood. You have no sealed brood left at all.
I've never had but one laying worker in the last 10 years. But that's
maybe just simply the presence of that queen takes care of them.
I don't know.
It's an interesting combination of QMP and brood pheromone that kind of takes care of that laying worker issue.
I don't attempt to tell people what to do. I'm just telling you what I do because I'm a little different breed of cat, you might imagine. I don't.
No, not you. No.
I don't dance the same drummers a lot of folks do. So.
What I've noticed, hatching the queens out in the incubator, hatching the cells out, and then having a queenless cell or a queenless cell builder to put roller cages in for about 2 or 3 days for them to attend to them. I've seen them, and I've really just done that for like rainy days coming up. If we're gonna have 2 or 3 rain days, I'll keep them in the builder so that way they're getting tended to and fed, and then I'll place them in the nukes, and kind of walk them in at that point. But you almost like if you're letting them in out of the roller cage, you almost have to make sure she walks down the frame because she'll just want to take right off. She's matured out, being fed like that, that
Right.
she's basically ready to fly. And in
Right.
that sense, if she goes out and gets mated well, she may only need that 1 or 2 flights out. She would be laying within days for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's a good point. Normally, when I'm introducing, like I say, she's hours old, and
mhm.
so there's no way she can even fly. But
Yep.
she goes right down in. And you know what? I've noticed something, and I've never heard anybody talk about this, which I think is kind of strange. All the bee behavioralists we listen to and whatnot, I've noticed something that is almost 100% consistent. Of course, I have this little queenless mating nuke, and I bring this nice fresh virgin queen, and I just walk her out of the cage onto the top bar,
Mhm.
and everybody's a little tentative, like it's like bringing a new cat home or something, right? And
Mhm.
a bee will come up over the top bar and to do exactly the same thing every time. She'll come up the top bar and she'll touch that queen and immediately turn around and find somebody to share that information with,
Mhm.
right? And then another one comes up, touches the queen, and immediately turns around, and the information about that queen spreads through that hive within seconds, just moments. The
Mhm.
majority of that hive realizes, "Hey, we got a queen now,"
Yep.
right? Have you noticed that, Matt? That they just peck the queen and immediately turn
Yep.
around.
She'll almost freeze to let him do it. Where she has the ability to walk down, or
Or
sometimes they'll
she's
come out of
she's
that
kind
roller
of
cage
tentative, like
bulldogging.
she comes out of there and she's kind
Mhm.
of shy. She just
Yep.
kind of sits on the top bar. She doesn't do much and almost needs that invitation or something.
It's almost like a social hello and welcome at the same time,
Yeah,
because it's almost like she doesn't know how they're going to take to her. So she's cautious, but eager at the same time, but
never seen another
tentative, I
bee.
guess. Yeah, you're right, right. And I think in that builder situation where they're actually getting aged and fed, that may help a little bit with that. Because when I
Okay.
walk them in that sense, they're pretty much bulldogging at that point. They're already got their swagger to them, and they're walking in and straight down. So
Okay.
you almost have to hold your hand, on the top bar, because these could easily want to fly to where you need to
Sh-
play handball real
She'll
quick.
definitely be a lot stronger at that
Hmm.
point.
Yep.
Like I say,
She'll
hours
grow.
after emergence, they're
Yeah.
just all, they're just babies and they can't really
Hmm.
do much. I don't think they're very strong even.
Yeah. I have
So
noticed that
that
it
is,
seems. Sorry, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Tom.
No, no, go back. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I have noticed hatching a queen in an incubator. It seems like, and Mark Miller's mentioned the same thing. I think there's a social thing that's extremely important for virgin queens, almost on emergence, that they are with other bees quickly, and
Hmm.
Yeah.
they can't be left. You can't just put water like a mated queen, a little dab of water and honey on them, and let them
Yeah.
sit. I think they're the best temperature for a virgin queen's in the mid 70s, not in an incubator at 93. So
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. I actually was working today on that presentation. I was reading about queen pheromones and such, and it talks about virgins and mated as well. And it talks about the four different glands in which these queens have. We all know the mandibular. That's a common one. The tarsal, or their feet, their
Mhm.
tarses. Then you have one that's called a tergal gland, which actually is near the basically kind of they call it the egg layer. That's actually for worker attraction and ovarian inhibition, which is to keep the reproductive organs of the workers from firing up that laying worker. And then you have the Dufour's gland, which is also for egg marking. And it's really interesting. So I wanted to, I can't share it on here, but, well, Joey just stepped off. I was going to have him kind of bring this up. That was actually from, it's the pheromones and the honeybees and their functions. The website is the Holy HABIBEE.com. I realize it's backwards and I apologize, but
No, it's not backwards.
I can't share this information other than this, but this is something I would recommend people reading just as
Holy HABI.
Did you get that, Brad?
Spell that again. HAB.
It's the Holy
Yeah.
HABIBEE.com.
The Holy Habibi.
Yes.
That's what it is. The Holy Habibi. All right. I see it.
I would encourage you guys to look that up and start reading through it. I was actually amazed, and I actually learned quite a bit today on that. And I didn't know how far down the rabbit hole I was going to put this information in a presentation, honestly, because it might be a little bit too in depth and boring unless you really wanted to nerd out on it, I think. But anyway, if anybody in here got that information, take it down. You're bored one evening, read through that. I don't know. I really enjoyed the read. It's not a difficult read, and it really goes into a lot of different information on there too. So, and it even talks about the pheromone profile of a virgin queen, which obviously I think we've all kind of determined it's not as strong, but there's a little bit of a difference there too, and that's kind of partly how they attract the males when they go on their mating flights. So
awesome. Thanks. Thanks for that.
Yes, sir.
I'll check that out.
I got a question for you, Thomas. We were talking about this and I forgot what you said. You remember squeezing the abdomen on one of those drones?
That's right.
What color? I've been testing some of my drones. What color are they supposed to be right?
Well, the unmature ones will be more of a white. Mm-hmm. The mature ones will be, I would say, what I is seen would be more of a yellowish tan, a very, very light. I'd say more tan than yellowish, but so you could have a yellowish hue to it. That was kind of what I seen, and that's what I have read.
I've been checking the virility on some of my drones.
I've heard other people say, and don't quote this from me for gospel, but this is a hearsay on my behalf from some people that I respect, say that when you try to pick them up, if these guys try to take off like a helicopter and they're just buzzing and it sounds like a wasp trying to take flight here, it's likely that they're a little bit more mature too.
It's a remarkable sound.
It is really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
now, I'm just going to preface this and say, I don't know that that's gospel. So please don't take it as that. Do your own research. But that is what I've been told by a couple people that I think are pretty knowledgeable.
Yeah, they kind of sound like a Huey helicopter.
They do.
You can hear
it's
them coming.
Amazing.
It startles me sometimes if when I put my queen excluders on, there's quite a few drones in the honey super, and then I go to check the supers. I lift the lid, and all these drones just go out in my face. It's just quite startling.
I've noticed on my honey supers this year, it seems like I've got an exceptional number of drones in my honey supers for some reason. More than normal. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that or not, but
Over a queen excluder?
Yep.
No upper entrance?
Well, and some of them I do, some of them I don't. So
unintentional upper entrance, meaning
yeah, that's me.
Just a crappy box.
Yeah.
Last year, we went through a period of time that was really quite hot. It was really hot, even just for here. It was really hot, and so I propped up all of my lids just a little. So I had upper entrance on all of them.
Yeah.
And now I've heard a guy around here tell me that if you ventilate the top of your hives, you'll get more honey. I had a record yield last year, and also helps the boys get out the top too.
Yeah.
Because I'm so sad when I go to pull my honey and all these drones are stuck in the queen excluder dead.
Mm.
It just breaks my heart that I caused that, right?
Yeah, I don't like that for that reason either, too.
And then bee escapes, right? You have drones in the honey super, and then you put a bee escape, then they get stuck in that too.
Yeah.
That's a
Well,
tool I definitely need to utilize, or I guess purchase more of, is a queen excluder. I just when we get into making honey, I'm just for the most part able to stack honey supers on, and they're not trying to brood up there.
Yeah.
They got that honey dome and that second deep, and they're just trying to put honey above that. Um,
You know, it's
so
amazing how you got so many different types of bees
mhm.
that orient around a queen excluder. You got some you don't need. You got certain genetic or whatever. They make that honey dome like you talking about. You never have issue with them going up. You got others that will, no matter how many times you stack a box on, they're gonna go up there and come back down.
that seems to be the kind of bees I have.
Yeah, they'll go all the way up just to come back down. And then you got others where you put a queen excluder on there and they do well, bringing honey up. And then you got others you put a queen excluder on there and it's a ceiling. They never go past it.
Mm-hmm.
That blows my mind how you got so many different types of bees doing different things pertaining to a queen excluder.
That thing about the bees not wanting to go through, I ran it out my very first year, and so I ditched the queen excluders. I didn't use them, and then I had to deal with all the brood that was up top.
Yeah.
And then I realized that when I started using what I call bait frames, put at least one frame of brood above that queen excluder,
Suck 'em
and
up.
they'll just like they'll be through that queen excluder before I get the frames in the box and the lid on. You know, people are telling me they won't go through a queen excluder. Well, I'll show you because
They
they'll
will
just
for
come
brood,
shooting
yeah.
through there as soon as there's brood above that. And I realize that not everybody runs deep honey supers, so that's a little bit more difficult, mechanically, if you're using all medium honey supers.
I try to use all deeps. I still have to go back and pull all my mediums out of storage.
I'm just like the only difference. I try to use all medium so I don't have to lift them heavy suckers.
Every time I lift a medium full of honey, I think, oh, I'm switching.
Yeah.
But then I do the math.
Well,
I think, do I have $20,000 to rebuy all my boxes? No, I don't.
Yep.
That's a thought right there.
So try this. Put a queen excluder on your entrance and see how many of your workers don't get through it. I always put a queen excluder on my cell builder entrance, and I've never sat there and watched for it, but I have watched them to just make sure they're not having a problem with it. And I've never noticed a bee hunting for a way through it and can't get through.
Fat bottom girl.
Yeah. Fat bottom girls need loving too.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
Just leave it alone, JW. It's just as well.
Me either.
Just leave it alone.
I'm gonna stay out here, my comfort zone.
Wait a minute. I want to hear what you have to say, old man and the
No,
bees.
I'm not saying that.
Give him a call later.
If Melissa was sitting here next to me, she'd be kicking me, telling me to shut my mouth.
Oh yeah.
But she's not.
JW, how many coons have you had to carry off in the last 10 days?
Nah, I've been first night I catch 2, The second night I catch one. The third night I catch 2 skunks. The third night, or the fourth night I catch 2 coons, and I haven't caught one since.
Hey, JW, do
What
you
they're
think?
doing, they've got smart to me. They're going in. I'm baiting with cat food because that's what they're after, and they've got smart on me. They're turning my cages over, and I've got them weighted down with a with a standard. What are they? 12-inch blocks, concrete blocks on top of them, and they're turning them cages over and getting the food and going on.
Wow.
So I'm
So are
gonna,
they crafty enough to get through my electric fence?
mine would be.
Yeah.
I can
Do
assure
you
you down here.
do you
I've
just
had
open the cage back up when there's a skunk in there, or do you carry it off?
I carry it off.
Yeah, you cover it.
You just cover it with the towels. All you got to do.
Yeah,
I haven't. I've probably carried off over the years. I don't know, 25 or 30, and I never gotten sprayed by just taking a towel and covering the trap, carrying them off. I had 2 in the back of my pickup and I hauled them clear up to about 18 mile up there, up to the bottoms. Hey, Chris. And
Hey, Chris.
hello.
Hi, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Hey, Chris.
Hey. Talk too loud. I got some grandbabies.
I don't
here.
like them. I'm always nervous, but if you're don't get too carried away.
Yeah,
But
they used to cover them at work like that and haul them off.
yeah,
They'd catch them on the compound,
yeah.
cover them up, haul them off.
I think releasing them would be just as dangerous as trying to get up there with a towel
As long as you
to
keep
cover
that
them.
deal over the back of your hive where they go in, is closed up where the gate drops down. You know what
Yep.
how a live
Yep.
operates.
Yep.
And you just keep the back of it solid, so where you open it up, well, they can't see. They can't see
Gotcha.
anything but the opening. They'll just take off and go. Usually, I was going to video that one release the other morning, and that doggone coon, I couldn't get it. It was facing the back, and it wouldn't turn around. I messed with it for I don't know, probably 2 minutes trying to get it to go out. Finally, I shut the video off and gave up because I couldn't get the coon. I was trying to hold. I just used my phone to video it, and I couldn't hold the phone and get the coon out of the cage or the skunk out of the cage. So I finally gave up on it and deleted the video.
Was that before or after was that before or after you spray painted his tail?
Deer. The varmints around here, the deer are coming in. And I live in the edge of town. That's where our residence is. Now, I'm about five miles from my main farm premises, which one of my sons lives out there. But anyway, the deer are so thick in the town that which I live. But it's not a big town. It's about, I don't know, 10 or 12,000 population. The deer are coming over I got a 4-foot chain link fence around my backyard. And the deer are jumping the back fence. And my wife's got hibiscus, and I bought her a bunch of hanging petunias, not 20 feet from my back double French doors out to the patio. And them deer are eating the petunia blooms off and eat every hibiscus bloom off of a hibiscus plant. Within 20 feet of my back door. They're just awful. And the bobcats are catching my tame cats and killing them. But I guess it's bobcats or owls because they just carry them off.
Yeah. Since we're off subject, I want to show y'all what's about 3 miles from my house right here. I'm gonna have to turn my screen off where you can see it.
Yeah.
I
see
get back
Joey's
with you.
secrets here too.
Yeah, all I got is a green screen back here. Let's see, none.
Oh, that's a pretty nice green screen.
This is 3 miles from my house.
Well, alligators?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
No, thank you.
I'll take the snow in the winter.
How they're harmless unless you feed them.
Somebody been feeding this gator.
Yeah.
And it either migrated to this pond or somebody dropped it off playing a prank.
No, they'll Joy down there in Georgia,
That looks like dinner to me,
a lot of
Joey.
that ponds would be 4 or 5 miles from the, and they'd come get in those ponds in my cattle pastures,
Huh.
So they'll move a good ways overland.
Yeah.
Especially
We used to have them come at work all the time. We'd have to get them out of the culverts
yeah.
and get in the ditches. But that usually just happened when we had a lot of rain.
Is that open season on them?
No, it's usually around August,
Oh, is that
September.
right?
It's a tag you have to apply for, don't you,
I have
Joe?
no idea.
Tag, they give you have to apply for individual tags to hunt them.
Yeah.
Unless you're like Tom and Matt, they're poachers, so they would get the tags probably.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think this one disappeared. They had somebody to disappear it.
That's probably that same guy that disappeared them doggone hive beetles. Won't mention any names. De-lifing the hive beetles and got banned. He'll be getting banned.
I've watched enough Crocodile Dundee. I don't need to mess with those alligators.
We didn't mean to make you mad, Chris. We lost him for a second, but he came right back. So.
What the big issue was with this gator was this is where they have that little deck out there. Kids go out there fishing all the time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here's a gator appearing out there. Nobody's ever got gators on their mind in this area.
You don't have that many right around you there in the.
No, we usually have to go about a 30-minute ride to the river swamp. Then we start seeing them there.
Yeah.
Joey, are you a little bit too far inland away from the water sources to see them?
Yeah, I think most of the time the water's a little cool here for them. Just like at the campground where we go to a lot, they stay in them ponds all the time, but you hardly ever see them around the river. And the river's right there. That water's a little cooler for them. Doesn't mean they're not there. They live up on the bank.
Pretty sure an alligator that size would do some damage to the largemouth bass in that pond.
In a hurry.
Or any catfish or anything else worthwhile catching. He's not eating minnows, I can tell you that.
Yeah, they're that for.
Yep. Clay's right. This is the issue right here. People feeding them.
That's what makes them dangerous. They get associating food with people. That's.
Yep. Normally, like bears, normally they're scared of you and run away from you.
Yep. Tree wild ones, they try to get away from you. They can.
Chris, you got a flow going?
Yes, we it's picked up real good the last 3 or 4 days. We got the poplar trees blooming. Of course, clover started a couple weeks ago, pretty stout. We got blackberries blooming. So I mean, we're right in the middle of the beginning of our good flow, I should say. So I just made some splits last week. Made 6, and 5 of them took, and 1 of them didn't. I was just now answering a phone call there from Jim Koss over there in Moorhead, Kentucky. He's got bee supply. He's got 3 queens. He was getting ready to throw in hives. I'm going to go grab 2 of them in the morning. One for me and one for a buddy that one of his hives went queenless on him. So I'm going to run over and get 2 queens tomorrow morning off of him. He said to call him beforehand and make him double check. He said he's out there in the shop. He thinks he has 3 more. So we'll see how it goes from there. He was going to stick them in hives in the morning himself, so they didn't have to sit in cages over the next 2 days, over Sunday, Monday. So he said just check in the morning before I take off. It's about an hour away. So I'll probably go pick them up about 9 in the morning. Oh, but I got grandbabies here, so I'm trying not to talk real loud. That's why I'm not being my normal talkative self. I've been in the garden all day. I've been about 7-8 hours in the garden. It was in the 70s, low 70s today, and overcast, and it's about the best day I could think of to be in the garden without breaking too big a sweat.
Yeah, low 70s. That's nice.
Oh yeah, it was really nice today, and the bees were flying like crazy too. I worked hives this morning about mid-morning.
I've done emptied this water jug twice today.
Jeez. Yeah, how hot is it down there, Joey?
I don't know. It was in the 80s. I didn't even check temperature. It was hot. I know that.
It's been real mild here the last few days, but everything's blooming. Bees. Our biggest thing is we've had a lot of rain. The rain won't slow down long enough for us.
Yeah.
And I think my beehives I'd have more honey in the supers if it wasn't for the stupid rain we've been getting the last 2 weeks. And the bees just can't get out there to fly, and that rain will knock the nectar out of a lot of the blooms too. So today was a good day. Today was probably the best day flying I've seen in 2 weeks. And so I put 2 supers on the 2 hives that I take care of my buddy over at Docks Creek, Ohio.
Yep. Well, we got several different trees coming in around here to Nectar. It was nice to work in the bee yard, even though it's hot. I told my wife, I said, it's nice to be working out here. You ain't got bees all around you trying to get in your veil. They got other things to think about. They're busy bringing in nectar today.
Oh, yeah. The last time I got in
Like
today, which those aren't my bees, they was a little bit testy. I probably could have smoked them some more. But I tell you what I did is I bent down. I was double checking for swarm cells. Now that the flow's kicking in pretty hard, we don't have to check them too much. But I popped that second deep and checked for swarm cells. And when I squatted down, I had sweats on, and one got on the back of my knee and squished, and it stung me through my sweats. And of course, I smoked it right away. But it must have set off the pheromone, because them bees just got flat out nasty once that bee got squished and got and stung that and set off a pheromone or something. Then I bent over to pick something up, and then one squished between my daggone belly and my thigh. And that second time I was putting smoke air too, but at that point they were getting real testy. So I put the extra super on them, closed them up. They didn't have any swarm cells anyways. I haven't been stung in a while. That's the first time I've been stung in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, I've noticed our hives have been pretty testy too. Almost like they're on a flow, but they're really protective of what they have. I don't know how else to describe it from there. They're not just letting you in, with no repercussions. They're wanting to guard it pretty good. So
yeah, my bees don't even hardly come off the frames. I don't know if it's just where I've bred it for so long to get some pretty docile bees, and the last ones I've been getting is off Chris Warner, and I'll give him this. He's got some pretty docile queens from his side. That I've had, a couple times when I ordered package bees when I first got into it, 6-7 years ago. Some of them bees were downright nasty. I had one that I didn't even like getting into. It was so ornery. And I started finding out you need to requeen them when they're like that. And I started doing that. And after that, I haven't been buying anything unless I kind of know the bloodline of what I've got. I did get a couple nukes off Cayman Reynolds, and those bees ended up being really nice and really gentle. And they've exploded on me. I took them from a 5. Now, remember, I run 8 frames and 10 frames. I put two 5-frame nukes each into an 8 frame deep. And in a few days, I had to give them a second deep, which is understandable. But they filled that second deep up right away, and they both have honey supers on them now. And I bought those in April. I don't know, was it Joey? 1st of April, second week of April,
somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was. It hasn't been that long, so there's a good chance I'll get some honey out of them boogers. I'm hoping. Who knows? I wouldn't be able to get any if I didn't put the supers on there.
How did all those queens you just got from?
I got 10 of them off Chris Warner, and I gave 4 of them to my buddy out Eastland. He was my mentor. He's been doing it over a decade, and I took 6 of them, and 5 of the 6 stuck for me. One of them I think just got released too early, and they killed the queen, I'm assuming. And but the others I checked, the others are laying and everything. So I just got them last week, and they're laying and doing a good job for me from what I can see. So hopefully there'll be some nice bees for next year.
That's good.
The nukes I got off Cayman, though, I was surprised how. I mean, I know everybody talks about how good the bees they got, whatnot. When he says that, he wasn't kidding. He's got some pretty daggone good bees. And he said a lot of people get it up north of me. He said they get honey out of them the first year. And I was like, well, we'll see. And I had to put supers on them. They filled, it's only an 8-frame box, so they filled a lot quicker than a 10-frame. But they both of them got two double deeps, 8-frame full. And I had to put, 3 days ago, I put another super on the second one. First one got into it pretty quick, but it was packed 5 frames. The other one was like 4.5 frames. It's a little bit further behind, but one of them was Corey Stevens queen, one of those VSH, and the other one was Cayman's. And he told me they were one of each. He finally got a hold of me, but then I told him, I said, I already took them out. I don't know which one. He told me the one on the left was, Corey queen. The one on the right was his queens. And I said, problem is I didn't pay attention to which box went into which hive. So I couldn't tell you which one's which it doesn't matter, because, those aren't pure VSH because they bred with Chris Warner's drones, which I think the reason that probably has been happening is I've heard some of his VSH line is a bit testy. And I know that Chris has a very calm, docile line. So I think that's probably why they bred to his drones. So they open bred to his drones is my understanding. At least that's what I was told. But hey, all I know is I got 2 good hives, startups, and I'm happy. And I got to spend a nice long weekend down in Pigeon Forge with the wife, and that was nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I needed that. I hadn't had a vacation all this year. I took those 4 days off, and it was nice. We were going down there to the Nobby or Hive Life or whatever every year. It's kind of nice to get down there to Pigeon Forge. We haven't been down there in 2 or 3 years. And man, that place is growing like leaps and bounds. I can't believe how much that place is changing. Just in a few years, it looks like the Myrtle Beach of Tennessee. It's unreal how much it's grown. I mean, they've got that whole backside, big old strip malls going in. I mean, that place is opening up stuff everywhere, and cabins are coming over everywhere. It's as cheap to get you a cabin to stay in as it is a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I hope it doesn't turn into Myrtle Beach, because I've been to Myrtle Beach, and Myrtle Beach is not a nice place.
Yeah, a lot of places,
but it's not a nice beach, and it's not a nice place.
No, well, what's happened is I relate it to how quick Myrtle Beach grew and built up, and that's what Pigeon Forge is, growing leaps and bounds from that aspect. But yeah, Myrtle got too crowded, too congested. We haven't went there in years because of it. And if we did go, we went outside of Myrtle Beach. We would go, on the periphery up there to one of the islands or something in the Carolinas. There's still some nice places there in the Carolinas.
I heard, we didn't get to go, but I heard if you go south of there to the Isle of Pines, I believe that's a really nice, a little more upscale area. Less, I don't know, I'll just say ghetto. We went to Myrtle Beach one time with my kids, and I said I'd never go back.
Yeah, North Myrtle's a little better. South Myrtle's where it's really, not very nice or kind of ghetto, like you're saying. If you go on past North Myrtle Beach and then into, Calabash and on up above that, there's an island up there we stayed at a few times. I'm trying to think what the name of it. My wife was awake. She's already went to bed. We stayed up there, and there's a nice little island up there in North Carolina to stay in. And we've enjoyed ourselves up there, and it's got a lot of houses there to rent. I don't know. I've kind of, as I've gotten older, I like either a cabin or a house more so than any kind of hotel room, because I feel like I'm staying in a matchbox when I do that. I like to have a little bit of room, especially when the grandkids are there. You got to have some space.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to answer that question?
I have a question. Speaking of drones,
I'll have my thoughts.
Melissa said she's answering it from her computer.
Yeah, my understanding is that your queens fly 3 to 4 miles, and your drones fly like 1 to 2 miles.
Yeah,
and that your drones don't mate with your queens, and that's intentional. So your queens actually fly further, and that's why some guys that will put drone yards several miles back out if they want to breed back to their own queens and stuff. But typically the drones in your yard do not mate with your queens. That's always been my understanding.
experience is contrary, though.
What's
I'm
that
not
again?
saying you're wrong, but my experience is contrary because I don't have a lot of beekeepers around me, and I don't have problem mating queens here.
Well, you probably got feral bees too, though, I would assume.
No
No?
feral bees here.
not up in Canada.
No.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Well, I guess if they have no choice in the matter and no other bees around it,
Well, that may
they would
be
have
just
to.
it. Like maybe ideally,
Right.
what you're saying is what they prefer to do. But I guess if that's the case, then maybe they just compromise and they say, "Oh
I know
well, take a chances."
They've done studies and actually test, mark the bees and do that. They actually
Yeah,
realize
I've heard
that
a lot of stuff about that, and I've always kind of wondered because I
Me
don't
too, Brad.
really think that's the case in for my location.
I would
Right.
say if there's no other bees out there, they are. Then in that case,
Why would they refuse?
Why wouldn't they? They'd have
It's
to.
kind of
They'd
like,
have to make to
so
somewhere.
where
If
are
they
you
fly
from?
that far, they come back. Yeah.
And how do they know?
What high school did you go to?
How do they
Yeah,
know
high
how
school.
far that queen does fly?
Yeah.
Did you put a tag on her?
They put a radio collar on them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you know how far a drone can fly?
I just know that's what I've always been told and heard big
DC.
speakers.
Please don't care about PhDs.
Yeah, the the BHP, right? BSHP.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions in my head about some of the stuff out here, especially when they don't show no data to really back that up. Like,
well, you're
what
right,
they
Joe.
call it, drone congregations.
Yeah.
I've never seen a picture or a video of one of those.
If you look up Julia
I have seen a
Mahud,
video of that, Joey. I have seen one. There was a video out on that. I did see one.
I see them congregating around my bee yards every day.
Well, they've actually identified certain drone mating yards and actually filmed the bees high up in the air, drones flying around in a congregation area.
Yeah.
They've identified that. I know that is the.
But you're right. People say a lot of things, right, Joey?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, everybody says it, right? And nobody really knows where that came from. It's
I don't know. I mean, you got the foremost authority. When you hear Bob Benny say stuff like that, you hope it's accurate, but who knows?
Most of them lies will usually say. Started.
What's that?
I said most of them lies that's out there, Brad. I started.
Yeah, well, I believe that. But Bob will say, Bob will say either quote his source or he'll say, they say that this is the way it works, and I don't really know if it's true, but that's, he'll usually say that. He'll qualify it as,
right.
This is just hearsay to pass along possible information, but it's
very cautious.
I will say this, Brad. I'm not trying to get I've heard it from a lot of people, a lot of quote unquote authorities, not just
I've heard that too a
here
lot.
Or there.
I've heard that too a lot, and that's why I kind of always wonder, like, geez, there's there's not really like the closest beekeeper with more than 2 colonies to me is 10 miles away,
Interesting.
right?
I
And
would say
I'm
when
right
there's no
beside the
when there's
11th
no
largest
choice in
lake
the
in
matter,
the world, so
I would
there's
think they'd
nobody
have to, Brad.
with bees there, right?
Right, but I'm saying, like you said, if there's no other drones there, they'd have to. I mean, at that point,
Maybe that's the key, that
right?
they just say, "Oh, well, you know, let's mate with the girls from town instead of."
Yep, you got to take
Right?
somebody to the dance.
That's right. That's right. You go to the dance with your cousin instead of the, you know.
Tom, I think DC was asking what Melissa said.
So there's a gal named Julia Mahood. Melissa put it in the comments up there, Julia Mahood. She is near Atlanta, Georgia. She has some great information, talks, and actual research when it comes to the DCAs. I actually brought her into the EMBA here in St. Louis last year. I think it was last year. And she gave a great presentation, and she actually tells you on some of her videos and some of her information on how you can locate DCAs in your area. It's not that hard if you have I'll say a drone or a UAV, so we understand what we're talking about here. You can actually, with just time is what it'll take you, you can potentially locate a DCA in your area. I've never taken the time to do it. I always thought it'd be a nice, fun experiment to try, but for what it's worth, if you are interested in learning or understanding more from a different perspective, we really enjoyed her talk and information, and it's worth a look, worth a watch.
I think the lesson to be learned is, that information about, like what Chris was saying, and I believe that that's what the academics tell us. But quite often, I've had this discussion with an academic, and I believe what he's telling me because he's a very good academic. But I have told him that I've observed otherwise, and sometimes what happens in the apiary isn't always what happens in the lab.
Yeah.
And so maybe we're running into something like that this is the gospel academia telling us this is how it works, but when nature throws you a curveball and says there's no boys within 10 miles of you, well, you go out with the boys from town instead of from the next county.
Yeah.
So maybe there are exceptions to what
I agree with that, Brad. Sometimes I think we always feel like we know better when it comes to it. But if you're a God-fearing person, there's something to be said about that. And the plan that he had worked out there when it comes to the honeybee colonies and all that.
I don't think he's going to leave that. Oh, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
I kind of think the bees kind of know myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, gentlemen, have you ever heard of a usurpation?
Where they take over another hive?
I had a queen that left and swarmed. I'll say swarmed. They did a usurpation, which is, I had a queen that was my breeder queen, and she was marked a certain way, like she was where she could identify her, and she was the only one with that color and that mark. And I knew exactly what she looked like, and the marking was kind of oblong where you could see it what it was. And I thought they'd swarmed on me, and they were gone, and they'd made a new cell, and I let them make a new queen. I was pretty upset, and I got into another hive. I keep them in different sections of my farm, about 50 yards away, and I got into that hive, and lo and behold, she had moved over to that hive with that, so they'd taken over. And I talked to Mike Berry about it. He was talking about a couple of people. What's that big guy that you come sometimes to your all's meetings, Joey, and speaks that Mike thinks a lot of? Or he's an academic. He says more common with African than European honeybees, but it happens in both. But did a usurpation where they basically took over the other hive. And I didn't lose my queen, but she was in a different hive 50 yards away. Thing, and I'd never seen that happen. I'd never even heard of that. And then I had to. I told Mike what happened, and he said that actually is called a usurpation. And that one gentleman had told him about that, and I'd never seen it before. But it actually happened right in my apiary, and I was like, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that before."
So tomorrow for dinner.
So a little story to tell. I was just remembering something as you're talking, and to kind of go back to the drone thing. This was kind of earlier on in my beekeeping career, and I didn't understand it when I saw it. But subsequently, I put together what I was seeing, and I know exactly what it was now. Is okay. I was standing in my yard, which is like where my home is, which is 100 yards from my apiary. And my buddy was standing there with me, and we were just standing talking. And then suddenly this collection of bees came by about 15, 20 feet up. And it almost, we looked at that and we said to each other, that looks like a swarm, but it doesn't look like a swarm. It doesn't sound like a swarm, because I know that sounds like it was a friggin' queen with a bunch of drones following her, is exactly what it was.
Wow.
Because of the way it sounded, the way it looked, and the way it moved, and the speed at which it moved, because it moved at the speed that a queen would fly, because you're kind of familiar with how fast they fly, not real fast. And this whole collection of drones, and you can hear them because they sound very different than a worker when they're flying in mass, and it just kept going. It just passed us, and it headed off to the north and disappeared.
Wow.
And it was the weirdest thing. We didn't get it at the time. We didn't understand what that was, but that was a drone comet.
Brad, I've never experienced this myself, but I understand Matt and JW know who I'm talking about. Jane, she's a local beekeeper, been doing it for quite some time anyway. She swore that there was a DCA near one of her yards at her store, as a matter of fact. And we were kind of talking through this, and the one thing that she had mentioned that I thought was pretty fascinating, she said that you can actually hear, so she claimed, when that mating actually occurs, it's almost
Popping
like
sound.
a crack. It's she said it's very distinct. She goes, you couldn't mistake it.
Yep.
And she goes, she had seen some drones that were still somewhat expressed laying on a piece of chloroplast near the hives.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Mating right over the apiary.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it's all these things that make me question that because we're always told, well, people come to the bee yard, and people that don't know bees, and us. So how far will bees fly? And you always have to say, well, they can fly 5 miles, but boy, if the nectar is right here, they're not going to do that. So when you say, well, bees will fly 5 miles or 2 miles or whatever you want to say, it doesn't mean they always do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is kind of at play here, that this has been measured, and this has been shown by academia. A drone will fly 8 miles and a queen will fly 5 or something. But maybe that day they're not going to. Maybe that day they fly 100 yards because they're getting the job done, right?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead, Brad.
Well, what we know about bees, they're very thrifty, right? Why are they going to expend energy that they don't need to expend? Why is the queen going to say, no, you got to wait, follow me for 5 miles and then we'll mate? Like, bees are smarter than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of time and energy and danger. Birds can eat them in that,
No doesn't necessarily mean no.
No doesn't always mean no.
Brad, what if she was a classy girl and she was not from the east side? Maybe she had a little couth, I mean, is that a possibility?
Let's not anthropomorphize the bees too much. Because the bees are actually a lot smarter than people in a lot of ways.
I would definitely agree there.
Their maker has made them that way.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to explore those kind of ideas by, what academia tells us, what science has taught us about the bee behavior, and what we've observed about the bees, and what we know about the bees, being thrifty and being, if there's nectar on the doorstep, they're going to go. You see you ever see a round dance in the hive, like a waggle dance, a round dance?
Yeah.
Well, that's meaning it's right here. right? Just go outside and you'll find it, right? So they're
Ground
going to
zero.
send you that way. They're not going to send you way across the yard if it's right there.
Hmm.
So they
Yeah, I'd
have that
agree.
mechanism.
I'd agree, Brad. They're so the honeybees are so highly efficient in everything that they do, from pollen gathering to nectar to
Yep.
everything. I wouldn't see how that wouldn't
Yeah.
correlate into the breeding. And just trying to do a little bit of research to see how well can a honeybee actually smell. The little bit of research that I've been able to get some facts on, and I don't even know the validity of it, but they're talking about a honeybee can smell to 1 trillionth. I mean, so they're monitoring or measuring CO2 levels in the atmosphere to parts per million. So we're talking not billion, but to the trillionth. And that to me, if that's the case, I think that they would be able to cross or pass the pheromones between the drones and the queens wherever they need to be, whether it be 100 yards at the wood line in the valley, or whatever, wherever they're doing their drone congregation areas. I believe that they can smell
Yep.
each other.
That's incredible. You do little things like shake them out on the ground in front of a hive, 10 feet away from the hive. Boy, it's like 3 seconds and they know exactly where that hive is and they know how to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Yep.
marching. Away they
Yeah.
go. And I've noticed something too. You can see my hives are on these pallets, right? So they're up. Even the pallets that sit on the ground, where this one's sitting on a stand, but the pallets that sit on the ground, they're up, 4 inches, 4.5 inches, something like that. And there's kind of a space there. They can't just crawl into the hive. So I'll put a little stick
Mm-hmm.
on the thing. Well, by cracky, it takes them about a half a second to realize the stick is the key, right? They
Yep.
don't wander around like a cat would or something like that. They know the stick is the key and they just hit that stick and up they go. It's just
Mm-hmm.
amazing. They not only know where that hive is, they figure out how to get there in very short order.
In almost in a problem-solving fashion, just
Yep.
by smell.
Yep.
What I'm assuming is smell.
It's got to be. It's got to be. It's all smell to them.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I was going to say earlier about the queen being mated. Sometimes they might have to do what they need to do just to exist. And I say that because I've seen so many times when a queen gets mated and comes back and starts laying, to me, it's a pretty brood pattern. But for some reason, they decided they need to replace her.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks after she starts laying, they need to replace her. So they know something that we don't know or can't see.
Brother Adam
Mm-hmm.
said that. Brother Adam, he talked about how we talk about, well, put the queen in with a candy and let them get accustomed to the queen for a couple, 3 days before she gets out, through the candy plug and whatnot. Well, he talked about, he said, and his language is, it's older English sentence structure and stuff, but he said that there's no, that there's nothing short of just her performance that will make the bees accept her as the queen. So that kind of this way speaks to what Joey was saying about they know how well she's doing. They know if she's doing a good job, and they will shut her down if she ain't doing a good job.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all, it's almost 10 after 10 here.
Yeah, 10 after 11 here, Joey. I'm on Eastern.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it for tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in the chat in the studio.
Thanks for having us.
I'm glad y'all all come on. Yeah, it got interesting.
It always
Good night,
does.
everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you later.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, see you, Joey. See you guys.